I'm going to show you how I created this little winter woodland fairy whom I have named Phoebe. My medium is Scannography, which in a nutshell is using a flatbed scanner to capture an image. You use a scanner in place of a camera. And your first step when you're doing Scannography is to gather your materials. Whatever you're going to scan, you have to gather them up, and it has to be something that will fit on a flatbed scanner without crushing it. I work with fresh elements of nature, flowers, insect wings, shelf mushrooms, as you can see, and that's what I have gathered. The shelf mushrooms for her wings and her skirt. These are sweet pea seed pods that I'm using for her arms and legs, and a little acorn for her head and her little hat. So once you have your materials, the next step is to make an arrangement. And you make an arrangement face down, and I do it directly on the glass of the scanner. You're looking at the back of her because I'm photographing straight down onto the scanner. So you're seeing the back where her little legs are here, her wings are covering up her little arms. And I'm choosing to show you how to do her because she's a relatively simple design that's easy to do because most of her components are on the flattish side. If you're using big flowers or roly-poly buds or whatever, it's much harder to do, but this will give you a general idea of how to do it. This is a picture of my equipment. As you can see, this is my scanner. It's an Epson Perfection 4490 photograph scanner, and its original purpose was to scan old photographs to restore. It's a little bit of a higher end more than a plain document scanner, but it's a regular size of any regular document scanner. And this is my Mac computer. And I always scan with the lid up. I've tried various other methods, scanning with it covered with black material or a black box or whatever, and I have found that just scanning with the lid up is the best way for me to go. The first thing you want to do after you have your arrangement made is to preview your image. Here I've called my scanner up and it's all set to go. I use the professional mode. I don't want to use the home mode or the full auto mode because I want to use all the options available to me in the professional mode. I do it on the auto exposure type. I always do photo instead of document. I use 24-bit color. And I choose what DPI I'm going to use based on the design that I'm doing. Generally, I never scan less than 300 ever. Generally, I do it in the 600 to 3200 range. The smaller the image that I'm scanning, like sometimes I scan little teeny insect wings and then I'll go way high. Whereas if I'm doing a design that covers the whole glass of the scanner, if I scan it at a really high resolution, my file will be massive, so I don't want to do that. For this design, I'm going to do it at 400. Normally, I would do it higher, but for this demonstration, I wanted to do it at lower DPI so that it goes faster. The other options, you will change your document size once you preview it. These options, I usually don't. When I first started out, I never used them. Sometimes I might use unsharp mask now. I don't know why it's called unsharp mask because it makes the edges a little crisper. And dust removal I sometimes use, but whether you use it or not, you're going to see dust on your scanner that you can't see with your naked eye. Now, for timely purposes, I have already previewed it, but your next step would be preview. I preview and rearrange my designs many, many times before I get it exactly the way I want it. And the more complicated the design, the more times you have to preview and rearrange. So, like I said, I already have her arranged. So I only have to preview so you can see what I'm doing. And I don't want to scan this whole entire screen. So I pick the part I want to scan, which is only the part of the screen she is taking up. And then I will hit the scan button, which will give you more options. You have to pick the file you want to put in it. You have to name the file, and you have to decide what format you're going to do. When I am scanning, I always use the TIFF format so that there's no compression of the design. If you use JPEG, it will compress it. You don't want to lose data. It will give you a bigger file, but it preserves the quality of the file. So always scan it in TIFF. And then we push OK. And she is going to scan. This may take a minute, but you have to be patient. The bigger the image, if I was scanning at a DPI of 1200, it would take a lot longer than scanning at the 400 that I am. And she will, I want to get rid of this now. And I don't mind if that's erased and erased. And I want to open my image with my Photoshop elements. And I just got 19. And it's giving me fits in with my updated Mac, but hopefully it will work today. So here's the image that you scanned, and as you can see, there is lots of dust and debris on the scanner and on the shelf mushrooms that I did not see even though I cleaned my scanner off, it seems to collect there magically. The first thing I do once I have the image is I do want to enhance it a little bit. The color I don't want to change the color or anything. I just want to make the image a little brighter. So I usually get rid of some of the shadows. I don't want to get rid of all of the shadows, just some of them. So it's easier to work with. And different scanographers do different things. When you lighten the shadows, you're also lightening the background. Some scanographers don't touch the background at all, but that's one of the first things I do after I enhance these. So I got rid of a few of the shadows, and I want to make it just a tiny bit brighter so that she's a little brighter. My next step is to color in the background. If you blow it up, you can see there's a lot of, it's not a consistent black, and I want it a consistent, true black. Other scanographers will just get rid of the visible dust and debris and leave it black. When you scan with the lid up, the darker the room is, the more black your background will be. But since I color mine in anyway, I really don't care if it's not a consistent black. So I choose the paintbrush tool, and usually I start in the corners, and I want very crisp and clear corners, so I started a very small. I'm going to start scanning or coloring in with my paintbrush at 3 pixels, which is very small, but the sharp corners I do at this size. Now, for this demonstration, I've enlarged my cursor, which makes this part very difficult because it's hard to work with when the cursor is this big, but I'll show you a general idea. I want to get the corners done with this 3 pixel part. And once my corners are done, I can increase my pixels, and usually I do it between 12 and 14. And then you outline, you get rid of, I go around the whole design so that it's all outlined in black. And once it's outlined, you can increase the size of your cursor again and get rid of more. You don't have to do the whole thing at that very small deep pixels. So once you get her outlined, the rest of it goes very fast. So now let's pretend the whole background is black. My next step is to use the clone tool, which is one of my favorite tools. It's like magic. I enlarge her and look for imperfections. Here's a hair or something down here. And to use the clone tool on my Mac, I press Option, and this is where I'm going to get the color from. And I click it, and then I move over, and it brings that color over to what I am on. And you click it again, you can slide around. Wherever you click, shows up, click, and cover up that area again. And it's like magic. You can make it perfect. And I really enjoy doing this part. It is time consuming, especially for a design that has a lot of dust or debris or pollen or little spots where bugs have nibbled. And sometimes if you have a very complicated design, I go grid by grid. If you go up to view, there's the option to put a grid on, and I blow it up, and then I'll go grid by grid by grid so that I'm sure I don't miss anything. Now, I'm going to pretend that we are done with her, and I'm going to pull up one that I have already completed so you can see the background is consistently black and all her little imperfections have been cloned away. And once I have it like this is how I do my prints. But if I want to do something else with her, I make her background invisible or transparent, which means I can move her around any way I want to. So you go to the eraser tool, and it is magic because you come up here. I'm going to do it on contiguous because that means it will just do the outside that's black. I don't want to do everything because it might take out some of this black that's in her cap. So you just click, and there, like magic, you have a transparent background, and you can move around. You can take her and put her in a design with other fairies. I can put her in a design with flowers or with little garden scenes or whatever I want with her. But there is Little Miss Phoebe, and this is getting more into digital art than Scannography. Once you have your image and she's transparent, the background is transparent, you can do a lot more with her. But like I said, that's moving into the digital art realm, and it's moving out of the plain Scannography realm. And my art is usually a mixture of both. But there is Little Miss Phoebe completed.